History is at a turning point, from the war in Ukraine to the climate and food crisis. From the much-wanted metaverse to unstable cryptocurrencies, get a ringside view to the ideas and challenges that are shaping the post-pandemic world. Catch me all through this week on India Today and Business Today as I bring you all the latest from a World Economic Forum that's being held this time in summer in Davos.
Presented by Aditya Birla Group, big in your life. Co-powered by only OLX Autos gives the best price for your car.
Co-powered by NetMeds, India की अपनी pharmacy.
Presented by Berger Easy Clean. No dag, no dhabba, only beautiful walls. Presented by Aditya Birla Group, big in your life. Co-presented by Star Health Insurance, the health insurance specialist. Co-presented by JK Puncher Guard Tire. अब हवा नहीं निकलेगी.
Powered by NECC, Sunday हो या Monday, रोज खाओ अंडे.
Co-powered by Dish HD, cricket का असली partner.
Good evening. Hello and welcome. You're with the news today. This is your primetime destination. News, newsmakers, talking points on the news today. Wednesday night. The big story, Kapil Sibal has exited the Congress. The latest high-profile exit from the Congress party. Where does that leave the so-called G23, the group of rebels? We'll have Kapil Sibal telling us why he's left the party that he was with for 3 decades. Also, a US school shooting that has shocked the world. More than 20 students and teachers shot dead. What does it say about the gun culture in that country? More on that in a moment. But first, as always, it's time for the 9 headlines at 9. An NIA court gives life imprisonment to Yasin Malik, the Kashmiri separatist leader found guilty under 7 UAPA charges, including waging war against India and terror funding. Protests erupt in the Kashmir Valley over targeted killings once again. Anger over terrorists attacking a 9-year-old Safa, shooting her policeman father dead in broad daylight. Another big setback to the Congress. 2-time Union Minister, senior Congress leader Kapil Sibal dumps party, files Rajya Sabha nomination from Uttar Pradesh with Samajwadi Party support. After CBI, Enforcement Directorate now books former Finance Minister's son, Karti Chidambaram, for alleged money laundering in a Chinese visa scam. No stopping the horrifying street murders in Chennai. BJP functionary hacked with sickle 2 days before Prime Minister Modi's trip to the city. Heat on the Stalin government. Fresh curbs on sugar exports to contain inflation, restricted by the government to 10 million tons a day. This a day after import duties on edible oils are reduced. Government sources say BPCL privatization is not off the table, centre to re-invite competitive bidding process for all assets of BPCL. SpiceJet ground systems allegedly hit by a ransomware attack results in long queues at airports and delays in flights. The airline IT team rectifies the situation now. And a teen gunman kills 19 children, 2 teachers in a horrific Texas school shooting. U.S. President Joe Biden calls for fresh curbs on firearms as shock and anger erupts across the United States. But our top story tonight is the massive blow once again, or a blow to the Congress party once again, because veteran leader, former union minister, and one of the Congress's biggest legal voices, Kapil Sibal, has left the party. Sibal, who fronted the so-called G23 rebel group that was calling for reforms in the Congress party over the last 2 years, said he quit the party on 16th May. Today, he was accompanied by Samajwadi Party chief Akhilesh Yadav while filing a nomination for the Rajya Sabha with the SP's support in Lucknow. After filing the nomination, Sibal said that he wants to be an independent voice in the Rajya Sabha and he will take on the Modi government there. Sibal's exit comes just days after Patidar leader Hardik Patel and the Congress's Punjab face Sunil Jakhar had also quit the party. I spoke to Kapil Sibal earlier today to find out why had Kapil Sibal chosen to take this big step. Listen in to Sibal Unplugged. And joining us now is today's newsmaker of the day, the former Congress leader and union minister, Kapil Sibal, who's just filed his nomination for the Rajya Sabha, supported by the Samajwadi Party. Mr. Sibal, is this the end of the chapter? I use the word ex-Congress leader. Is it all over for you with the Congress party with which you were for more than 2 decades?
You cannot say anything about the future, right? At the moment, I want to be an independent voice in this country. And I believe there are hardly any independent voices in Parliament. Everybody is tied to the coattails of a political party. So members of Parliament cannot speak their mind. It is time that in a democracy as large as India, as significant as the largest democracy in the world, there are no independent voices in Parliament.
But are you truly independent because you're taking the support of the Samajwadi Party? You haven't joined them, but you've taken their support. So effectively, you will be batting for the Samajwadi Party in Parliament or for the opposition. What is your role? What is the role you see for yourself? And you've left the Congress.
What does an independent member mean? He's independent of political parties. They may have supported me, but it is their graciousness. It is their generosity that they accepted this. Which political party accepts, one seat being lost by them and giving it to a person who stands as an independent? No political party does it. I think
that's because you've appeared in several cases for them.
I've appeared in several cases for several other parties also. You tell me which party I've not appeared for. I've appeared for DMK, I've appeared for Anna DMK, I have appeared for, Samajwadi, I got them the symbol of the cycle. I've appeared for Mayawati, I've appeared for So you had a basket of options, but the key issue is your decision. The key decision, Mr. Sibal, is your decision to leave the Congress. Because until now, you were seen as the rebel voice within the Congress. The so-called G23, you were the one voice calling for the Gandhis to, in a sense, step aside and a new leadership. Is that the core reason why you left? Let's now call a spade a spade. Look, Rajdeep, I am not given to living in the past. I am given to thinking of the future. And I think my country's future is more important than start talking about why I left the Congress and why didn't I remain in the Congress. There's a time when, in a man's life, when you decide that it's time for me to move forward, be a voice in the opposition,
that's not tied to any political party. And that voice must reflect the needs of the people of this country, which are not being dealt with at all. Nobody is bothered about the real problems of our country. It is politics, politics, and politics alone that seems to reverberate throughout the House.
No, but do I sense a sense of disillusionment? Someone who for the last 2 years has been consistently raising a voice in a sense within the Congress that you need change, you need to break the status quo, you need to find a new leadership. Others seem to be aligned with you, but none of them spoke out. You were the one person who spoke out, and eventually it appears, particularly after the Udaipur Chintan Shivir, that the Congress has decided that the Gandhis are going nowhere. So is this a sense of disillusionment that has led you to take this step?
You're a very clever journalist and you're trying to persuade me to do something about what happened and why I left. I think that you leave that alone because that's a matter of the past. I was for 31 years in this party. I was brought into this party by Rajiv Gandhiji. And I served this party to the best of my ability. I have no angst, no anger, no grievances. It's time for me to move on. And that's why I have decided to be, and they have graciously accepted that. Azam Khan, Shivpal, Akhilesh ji have agreed that yes, through their support, I can be an independent voice in the House, and I'm grateful to
So
them.
no regrets. No regrets that someone who gave, as you say, 30 years to the party eventually found that he was a voice in the wilderness, that even those who you thought would come along with you, the Ghulam Nabi Azads, the Anand Sharmas, the so-called G23, none of them have spoken out in support of anything that you said eventually in public.
You can keep on taking their names. You're not going to get any answers from me. I have great respect for all of them. They are my friends. I don't want to say anything. I'll never say anything. I'll never say anything against the Gandhis either. When I was in the party, I had the right to raise my voice. I'm not in the party anymore. Why should I comment on a party of which I do not belong today? Therefore, I will not comment. It is for them to decide what their future should be, how they should rejuvenate the party, and how that party should be at the forefront of national politics.
Your views have not changed, though, on the Congress party at the moment, that it needs change.
Whether my views have changed or not, I'm an outsider. I'm nobody to comment on that.
The reason I'm asking you this, Mr. Sibal, is because the state of the opposition in this country at the moment is a cause of concern for many, that India doesn't have a strong, viable opposition. That's one of the reasons why it appears that it's Mr. Modi all the way. Is that how you see it, that the opposition is facing a serious credibility crisis in this country?
One of the reasons why I have done what I have done, that my effort will be to try and bring about all the opposition parties on one platform so that we can fight this juggernaut. And I think we should all be prepared for 2024. Unite all those who are in the opposition and on one platform fight the BJP. That's one of the reasons why I have done what I have done.
You want all the opposition parties to come together, all the non-BJP parties to come together, and you will try to work towards that.
Yes, that's my aim.
The reason I'm asking you this is the cynics and the skeptics will say, here is Kapil Sibal, who was speaking about against dynastical politics in the Congress, now goes and joins a party which is as dynastical as anyone else, or takes the support of the Samajwadi Party.
Very clever journalists. When you say joins the party, sometimes
Takes the support.
I take the support of every party. I've taken the support of every party in this country. Why do you say takes? See, somebody has supported me to come to Rajya Sabha. On whose terms? That we will support you even if you are an independent candidate. So why are you mixing two things up altogether?
But I still come back to the state of the opposition, which is Kapil Sibal today takes the support of the Samajwadi Party. The Congress doesn't seem to be going anywhere, as the Chintan Shivir seems to suggest. They believe that they are moving in a particular direction. Where does that leave the opposition? I want to know, who do you see? You say 2024, you want to bring all the parties together. Do you really believe you have the time, and do you really believe that there is a leader who can actually take on a Mr. Modi and the BJP?
Therefore, we should live in despair and not hope for change, not hope for people getting together. If the media is in such a bad state as it is today, and you are the one who raises voices against the media, you have no hopes that it will change.
Why are you bringing the media in? I'm asking.
You have been talking about what a disgraceful situation the media itself is in, but yet you speak voice. You are the sane voice of hope in the media. I hopefully will be the sane voice of politics in politics.
But do you believe that in 2 years you can actually actually bring together parties to take on the BJP juggernaut? Is Kapil Sibal, who is not seen as a mass leader, living in a bit of a bubble?
Let me assume I'm no leader at all, but I do have a voice. I will raise that voice. I'll let the leadership be done by others. I will try and ensure that people try and come together. I am no leader at all, neither a mass leader or any leader. But I do have a conscience and I do have a voice. I hope people listen to me.
My final question, therefore, to you, if you had any piece of advice to the Congress party, and I'm sure you have, what would that be? Because you're talking about bringing parties together. If you're talking about bringing parties together, what is that advice that you would give the Congress party, which at the moment seems to be struggling to take on, as I said, the BJP both electorally, ideologically and organizationally?
I am no one to give any advice to the Congress party. The Congress leaders within the Congress party will get together and decide what they want to do for the future.
So you're not ruling out the possibility that the Congress also will be part of this grand coalition that you would like to create. You accept that the Congress, because Sharad Pawar has been very clear that any coalition for the future, opposition coalition, will need to involve the Congress party. Do you also share that?
I already told you all political parties must come together. Did I exclude the Congress? No. All political parties must come together.
My final question. Has all of this happened with a sense of frustration? I know that you've felt very strongly about a few issues. Do you feel frustrated that no one eventually listened or came along with you within the party? Has the Congress even lost that capacity to actually have these debates and dialogues within the party?
Saying all these things about the Congress, which I have not endorsed at all. Okay, you keep on saying them, and I'm not going to endorse it. But let me tell you
You
this.
said them in the past. That
As
there
I
is
said,
no
I'm not going
inner party dialogue.
I am not in the Congress anymore. If I were in the party, I could have spoken.
As you did at the time.
Whether I did or not, you know. Now, in fact, if I have a case to fight, right, and you know, people say it's not much of a case, right? What do? I fight, and many a times I win. So don't be despondent. There are things that happen in life which cannot be predicted now, may happen tomorrow. We may all get together to fight the present dispensation.
And what will you tell your critics who will say, look at Kapil Sibal, did he just want a Rajya Sabha seat, or was it something much more than that this fight was?
Rajya Sabha seat, I could get it from anybody, joining any party. No problem. But remember what I said. I said, over my dead body will I ever join the BJP, and I will never join any political party. I said that publicly. I have stood by that. Political parties could have told me, we will not give you a ticket. I would not have been in politics. I would not be in Rajya Sabha.
So this is not a battle for a post or a position. This is a battle for
I need not be in Rajya Sabha even to be a voice, quite frankly.
But you've chosen that.
I've chosen that because people agreed. The Samajwadi Party very kindly, graciously agreed for me to be that voice.
But sir, I'm sorry I must push this, because in the last couple of weeks, we've seen several others also depart, high-profile departures, like the Hardik Patels of the world. We've seen Sunil Jakhar leave, all of which raises the question, is there something intrinsically wrong with the Congress party or not?
I'm not here as a commentator now to start talking about other political parties. Let me do my job, for which I have hoped to enter Rajya Sabha very soon.
Mr. Kapil Sibal, as always, a pleasure talking to you. Thanks very much. Kapil Sibal, who says that he hopes to bring the opposition parties together and will remain an independent voice, is what he claims in Parliament and outside. Rajdeep Sardesai for India Today.
So is this the end of the road for the so-called G23 rebellion within the Congress? Is the challenge to the Gandhis that was allegedly there within the party now over? Was Kapil Sibal the last voice ready to take them on from within the party? Joining me now is Sanjay Jha. Remember, Sanjay was suspended as the Congress spokesperson for speaking out. Also joining me, Ghanshyam Tiwari of the Samajwadi Party, which Kapil Sibal has taken support from to enter the Rajya Sabha, and Rahul Srivastav, our National Affairs Editor. Appreciate all of you joining us. Sanjay Jha, you tell us, you were suspended. Kapil Sibal has now not only left the party, but also got a Rajya Sabha nomination courtesy the Samajwadi Party. Is the message very clear? If you challenge the leadership of the Gandhis in any form in the Congress today, you have no place in the party. The G23 and the voices of rebellion are now over, finished.
Well, Rajdeep, I cannot deny that Mr. Sibal was the linchpin who basically tried to get people together to demand organizational reforms and some very drastic and dramatic changes that he felt that the Congress party needed. And all of us, I think, agreed with that stance. I have been equally publicly vocal about it. As far as Mr. Sibal's departure today is concerned, I think it's a loss of a very formidable asset for the Congress. You have already interviewed him. I heard the interview. And I think Mr. Sibal, in my experience with him, has ideological commitment to the Congress's values of liberalism and secularism and an inclusive democracy. The message for the Congress actually, Rajdeep, is pretty unambiguous actually. Losing elections is bad, but losing good people is worse. And I do believe that the Congress leadership needs to stem this decline. These leakages cannot be, an uninterrupted outflow going on from the party. And I get disappointed when I hear people come on TV screens and say, it's okay, so what? Some people come, some people go. Because the truth, Rajdeep, is that ultimately political organizations are not some abstract, kind of terminology. They are actually made by the people who run them.
But the flip side, Sanjay Jha, would be that you can't be in a political party, target the leadership day in and day out in public fora, and then expect eventually the party to reward you. So either you go full-fledged with the rebellion and split the Congress party, or you stay within and accept where you stand. I mean, in the past, in the 60s and 70s, when leaders had problems with Indira Gandhi, for example, if Indira Gandhi had a problem with the established leadership, they split the party. Now you can't even split the party. All you can do is look outside for a Rajya Sabha seat.
Well, Rajdeep, let me tell you from my own personal experience with the Congress. I think the Congress party ought to have been distinctly different, uniquely different from the other political parties. I mean, it has got a phenomenal history. I mean, you have had people like Mahatma Gandhi and Pandit Nehru. I don't need to add more to that. For the party today to not be able to encourage what I call as a constructive feedback, or let's enlarge that to even, let's say, strong criticism. If you can't stomach that, you, frankly speaking, are missing the plot. And that's exactly what's happening to the Congress. I would have said, actually, why
can't you do it in internal fora? Which political party allows you in India to do it publicly? This is not the Westminster democracy of Britain. In India, you've got to do it behind closed doors.
A valid point, Rajdeep. This is the point I'm making, that the Congress leadership should actually surround itself with people who tell you what are the home truths, what are the ground realities. You need to have people around you who tell you what is the bad news first, which is why this whole culture of, what you call as chamchagiri or chapulsi has come into the Congress, because people aren't speaking truth to power. And that's one of the reasons why the Congress has declined. I do believe G23 has definitely dwindled, if not itself completely come to a full stop.
Many of the G23 members have simply been accommodated by the Congress in various groups, but the chamchagiri culture, as you call it, is part of the problem. You're saying it exists in every party. It's not as if the Congress is unusual in that respect. But Ghanshyam Tiwari, you have gladly accepted Kapil Sibal in a way. What's the message that you're sending out? That if you are out of the Congress and you're going to fight legal cases for our leaders, whether Azam Khan or Akhilesh Yadav, you're very welcome. Is Kapil Sibal being accepted because of the values he claims to represent, or because he's very useful to you to fight all the legal battles that lie ahead of the Samajwadi Party?
Good evening, Rajdeep, to you, the viewers, and my fellow co-panelists. You look at a basic Wikipedia search on Kapil Sibal's resume. Minister of Communications and Information Technology, Minister of HRD. He was the one who introduced IIT JEE pattern. Minister of Science and Technology, Minister of Earth Sciences. These were the portfolio of charges he led for India in the government. And you compare him with the people who are leading these charges right now. He hands down is a better individual in terms of training, knowledge, as well as performance to the people who are leading these departments in BJP itself. And this is what Samajwadi Party believes in. This is a time when the nation wants opposition parties to build an alternative. That alternative doesn't build on studios and simple ideas. It builds on people who have the credibility to stand up and say that India must stand for thought leadership, for knowledge, and must stand on the shoulders of those.
No.
Who
So
have,
are you talking about? Are you saying that Mr. Sibal is the first step towards anyone disillusioned with the present Congress leadership has a space in the sort of non-BJP opposition? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that opposition parties across the country must look at the fact that India is being dumbed down by people like Ajay Mishra being a Minister of State for Home, and people who have no performance or background to prove of their public standing, becoming ministers and Rajya Sabha members as part of BJP. Whereas on the other side, you have people who have decades of experience and performance, knowledge, thought leadership working for India. And if opposition parties, whether it
and
is
also argue for you in court. And also argue for you in court.
Everyone has a profession, and at a time when the Indian democracy is getting attacked, the citizens' rights are being snatched away. You look at any institution in the Indian democracy, right. It is under threat. At a time, people like Kapil Sibal don't argue for one person in the court. They argue for betterment of and security of Indian democracy and our institutions. Okay. So it's a great thing that there are people of his stature who are standing and arguing for the country.
Let me bring in Rahul Srivastava. Rahul Srivastava makes sense of this. Hardik Patel leaves the Congress and is likely to join the BJP because there are elections in Gujarat, and he believes that the present Congress is unlikely to win there in Gujarat. Sunil Jakhar leaves because he feels he was treated shabbily and not given the chief ministership of Punjab. Kapil Sibal, why do you think he's left? Is it because this is a fight which he found himself increasingly becoming isolated in, the one voice against the Gandhis, all the others refused to join him in actually taking on the Gandhis publicly? Is that the reason why he left?
Rajdeep, there are two elements to your question. One, why did Kapil Sibal leave and take Samajwadi Party support, and why did the Samajwadi Party accept? The first part, you see, when the G23 initially started, it started well. But one expected, as you said, either rebel, split the party, do something drastic and achieve what you really wanted. In politics, there is no charitable rebellion. And I think the G23 initially seemed to be trying to negotiate with more decks in its favor, means on its own terms, while the Congress High Command was on the back foot. But if you see over the last few months what has happened, or last 1 year what has happened, somebody like Ashok Gehlot on the day of the Chintan Baitak batted for Rahul Gandhi. He didn't bat for G23 or anybody. He made it very clear he's not there because he wants to serve out his term, doesn't want any troubles with the High Command. Now, in that, the isolation that the High Command could create for G23 was very clear. The terms of negotiation were being controlled now by the High Command than the G23.
But that's because none of these
that's because Sibal, who was a very vocal voice,
that's because Rahul Srivastava, none of these G23 members are mass leaders. That's because none of these G23 leaders are mass leaders, so they can't take on the Gandhis. That's their limitation.
Yes, Rajdeep, they were not mass leaders. That is why it was easier for a weakened High Command to take over the terms of negotiation. Now, what is more interesting is that for the whole day, everybody is talking about the fact that Kapil Sibal goes for a Rajya Sabha seat. Samajwadi Party accepts him because of some court cases. That's true. To a certain extent. Rajdeep, the fact is that in Samajwadi Party, suddenly there are voices that the man who said zero loss for the 2G spectrum is actually brings zero gain to Samajwadi Party. That zero loss, zero gain element is being talked about. But the fact is, out of the 11 seats going to election in Rajya Sabha in UP, Samajwadi Party is certain to win 3 of them with 125 odd seats. Now, 1 seat has been given to Javed Ali. Now, Javed Ali is an ex-RS Rajya Sabha man. The Samajwadi Party had to give him a ticket because Samajwadi Party fielded 64 Muslim candidates, 50% almost strike rate, 31 of them won a Samajwadi Party ticket. You had to accommodate 1 Muslim. Now the 3rd seat is open, either Dimple Yadav or Jain Chaudhary could come in. Why Kapil Sibal? Kapil Sibal, Rajdeep, it's not just that he will fight the cases. Yes, Azam Khan was a driving force. In 2017, he represented Akhilesh Yadav's battle for the party symbol in Supreme Court. But Rajdeep, We are living in a time when the Congress is diminishing. Every chief minister, every opposition leader is trying to create a space for himself in Delhi. Praful Patel for Sharad Pawar, Derek O'Brien for Mamta Banerjee. That strong presence in Delhi. And Akhilesh Yadav gets Kapil Sibal. Remember, Rajdeep, Kapil Sibal has a worldview and a political and national worldview which actually Samajwadi Party did not have in parliament or outside. And that's what he brings for Akhilesh Yadav. And that's perhaps the reason why Akhilesh has sacrificed one seat out of the 3 he's going to win. Although he can accommodate more people later, because by January there will be 3 more seats he'll be getting, and by 2027 he will have 9 more total. So that's not a problem. Accommodation of some people who might be disgruntled right now because Kapil Sibal has come in.
My final word, therefore, from you, Sanjay Jha, is the real story this, that the Congress today has the Gandhis with their diminishing clout, but also has a party with leaders with diminishing mass appeal. So from both ends, at the end of the day, you've got no one within the G23 who can take over the party, and the Gandhis themselves are in no position to challenge Narendra Modi and the BJP.
Well, Rajdeep, the sum and substance of the answer is simple. Number one, the Congress party definitely can't do without the Gandhis. That is an established fact. The problem is that the rest of the country is asking the Congress to reform itself and perhaps give them an alternative leadership. So there is a dichotomy between what the Congress wants and what the country is expecting from the Congress. Until the two reconcile, I think the party will be actually skating with both its feet on a banana peel.
Okay, let's leave it there, gentlemen. Sanjay Jha, Ghanshyam Tiwari and Rahul Srivastava on a day of another high-profile exit from the Congress party. Someone just sent me a message, why are all of you journalists obsessed with the Congress party if you're writing our obituary on screen? That question and debate for another day. But for now, thank you all very much for joining me here on the news today. Let's turn to the other big story. You're seeing flashes coming out of a Kashmiri actor who's been attacked in Budgam. All of this is coming on a day when many would believe justice has finally been done in a major case, because the Jammu and Kashmir Liberation Front chief and someone involved in or allegedly involved in many attacks in the valley, Yasin Malik, has been given life imprisonment in a terror funding case. An NIA court in Delhi today found the JKLF leader guilty of 7 charges under the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. The court has also imposed a 10 lakh rupee fine on Malik. Ahead of the verdict, Malik's supporters had gathered outside his house in Srinagar and started sloganeering. The police had to fire tear gas to disperse the protesters, restore normalcy. Malik pleaded guilty to the charges related to terror funding.
2 life imprisonments have been given, and besides that 10 years rigorous imprisonment in 10 offences, besides monetary penalty, and all the punishments will run concurrently. You will get the entire detailed order that court will justify what court has considered what are the circumstances.
And India Today exclusively spoke to the NIA officer who arrested Yasin Malik. Listen in.
सर, यासीन मलिक को उम्र कैद की सजा हुई है। एनआईए में रहते हुए आपने यासीन मलिक को अरेस्ट किया था। सारा आपने एविडेंस, किस तरह के एविडेंस थे? सबसे पहले तो जो ये सजा सुनाई गई है, इस पर आपकी प्रतिक्रिया सर।
ये राष्ट्र हित में है और राष्ट्रद्रोह के ऊपर राष्ट्र प्रेम की जीत है, और जो भी लोग राष्ट्रद्रोह में जड़ित हैं उनके लिए एक क्लियर वार्निंग है कि जो नया भारत है इसमें इस प्रकार की किसी भी गतिविधि के लिए स्थान नहीं है।
Now, a Jammu and Kashmir police constable was killed yesterday while his 9-year-old daughter was injured when terrorists opened fire on them in the Saura area outskirts of Srinagar. According to sources, the constable was going to drop his daughter for her tuition classes when they were attacked. The story has now led to protests erupting over the killing of the policeman and the injury to her daughter in the valley. Here's more.
This is 9-year-old Safa. Blooded by terrorists in Kashmir while her father was shot dead. On Tuesday, terrorists fired indiscriminately at Saifullah Qadri, constable of the Jammu and Kashmir police, who was on leave. He was targeted right outside his house in Saura's Ganai Mohalla in Srinagar. Watching the shots fired, this 9-year-old girl ran to save her father, clung to his arms as he battled for life. Heartless terrorists did not spare the child either and fired at her. Both received critical gunshot injuries and were rushed to the hospital, where the policeman succumbed. The child has suffered heavy blood loss, but is said to be stable at present. The area around Ganai Mohalla is cordoned off and a search is on to nab the terrorists. The police have vowed to bring the killers to justice.
पूरी सोसाइटी कश्मीर सोसाइटी एज ए होल सोसाइटी को इसका क्रिटिसाइज करना चाहिए, इसको करना चाहिए, हम सब क्रिटिसाइज करना चाहिए और टेररिस्ट की फैमिली को भी समझना पड़ेगा कि उनकी फैमिली को भी आगे आके टेररिस्ट के खिलाफ बोलना चाहिए.
One more innocent life has been snuffed out by radicalization and terrorism in Kashmir. Bureau Report, India Today.
From terror in Kashmir, we turn to horror in Texas in the United States. A story that has shocked not just the US but the world, where in a Texas elementary school shooting, an 18-year-old gunman opened fire inside an elementary or a primary school in a small town in Texas. A total of 21 people have been killed, including 19 children and 2 teachers. The suspected shooter, Salvador Ramos, was shot dead by the US police armed with a handgun and a rifle. Take a look.
Innocence lost to school carnage. Smiles wiped out by mindless savagery. The victims of Texas shooting horror who fell to volleys of automatic gunfire by a gunman who was just 18 and himself perished. Children not older than 10 years old and their teachers in their US primary school were the latest victims of United States gun culture. The butcher this time, an 18-year-old, Salvador Ramos, who opened fire on children and staffers at Robb Elementary School, using handgun, automatic rifle and high-capacity magazines. Clad in body armor, Ramos had just shot his aging grandmother before bursting into the school premises. He was eventually gunned down by security personnel who responded to distress calls. But by that time, America had seen one of its biggest school slaughters.
The suspect is deceased at this point. DPS is assisting with the investigation. And at this point, the investigation is leading to tell us that the suspect did act alone during this heinous crime.
Bewildered parents waited late into the night at a nearby civic center to learn whether their young children had survived. The now deleted Instagram account of Ramos shows his obsession with guns, where he had tagged strangers in images of automatic weapons. The carnage shocked US and the world, and once again put the glare on the need to impose gun curbs.
Why are we willing to live with this carnage? Why do we keep letting this happen? Where in God's name is our backbone to have the courage to deal with it and stand up to the lobbies? It's time to turn this pain into action. For every parent, for every citizen in this country, we have to make it clear to every elected official in this country, it's time to act.
Tuesday's tragic events marked the deadliest school shooting in nearly a decade, since 26 children and adults were killed at Sandy Hook Elementary School in 2012. When will the US wake up and put an end to slaughter of innocents? Bureau Report, India Today.
So the US calls itself the world's super cop, globo cop, but it can't get its act together at home. Why? Joining me now, Puneet Ahluwalia is an Indian-American businessman who's been connected in the past with the Democratic Party. Also joining me is Prakash Shah, member of the Democratic Party. Appreciate both of you joining me at the moment. Prakash Shah, we had the US president saying virtually almost sounding helpless, suggesting when are we going to get your act together? In the US, 213 mass shootings this year alone, 10 attacks a week, 30 shootings in elementary schools, over 30 deaths in school shooting, and the US president can do nothing but hand-wringing.
Thank you for having me, Rajdeep. I totally agree with you. It's the fault of our system. We really need to get our act together, and we haven't done that repeatedly. These incidents keep happening. This proliferation of weapons everywhere. There is absolutely no need to allow weapons of mass destruction like AR-15 rifles, machine guns. All these are not needed by ordinary citizens. And to allow ordinary citizens to freely purchase these types of weapons is the cause of this problem. US stands alone almost in the world in this type of incidents that are happening repeatedly. So it is not a question of something that you can say, okay, it happened once, it was accidental.
No, but you call yourself... But it almost sounds, we all know what the problem is. The solution also is well known. Gun control laws are needed across the United States, but they are not being implemented because various senators have links to the National Rifles Association or groups connected who help them and sponsor their election. Mr. Ahluwalia, do you believe...
I totally agree with you, and it's so frustrating.
You
say
it's frustrating.
And in fact, there is a majority of people who are in favor of these regulations. And yet it is not happening because of the power of the National Rifle Association. And this is really very, very bad. And it really hurts us. Each time when this happens, it really bothers so many of us.
Let me bring in Mr. Ahluwalia. Mr. Ahluwalia, is all that's going to happen in the United States hand-wringing? We don't have a backbone, we are not getting our act together. But at the end of the day, gun control is in deep freeze because the fact is that there are enough senators who today are unwilling to take on the gun lobby.
Rajdeep, first thing is, thank you for having me on your show. I'm a Republican, I'm not a Democrat, and I believe in the constitutional right of the Second Amendment of owning, ability to own firearms. First thing, it's very tragic. It's horrible what happened. Our hearts go to the families who've lost their loved ones, and not a word can express their loss and grief. But this is a different debate. If you think the lobby is that strong, that the senators or the leadership is unable to move this pivot on gun control. But just I want to correct Mr. Shah. We have an ample of laws and we have regulations. But as you know, Rajdeep, that the bad actors or the bad players do not play by the same rules. What happens is people like us who are law-abiding citizens who would like to have the ability to protect ourselves in circumstances like these, that we can protect ourselves with the guns. But more importantly, we do have laws, and the people of America at every given moment have supported the ability to protect themselves. And I'll give you a reason. It's the policies of Biden's administration, which is basically leading to defunding of the mental health services, defunding of the police, and the inability for the school system to have enough funds because the money is going more to pay for the school unions rather than fixing the school and having security for our kids. That's where the problem is.
Are you saying, Mr. Ahluwalia, you can't say, are you telling me every primary school now will have to have the kind of security that is required to stop these guns? I mean, but the real problem is the number of guns that are floating around. I'm looking at per capita, the amount of guns that exist in America compared to any other country in the world. There are just far too many. So guns per 100 person. Just look at those numbers. You're way ahead of anyone else in the world.
Rajdeep, we have 5 guns in our own home. So let's not go there.
So why?
Why not? We have the ability to protect ourselves. I'll give you an answer. between the time you call the police officer and then you have a bad actor in your house or somebody trying to rob your home, it's between those 2 to 3 minutes you have the ability to protect yourself and your family. Because after the police comes, it's too late. So that's the reason we also believe very importantly in the Second Amendment. And I'll give you the reason why that is. The day the government starts taking away our guns, we don't become citizens anymore. We become subjects. And that's the reason why we have seen in countries where the genocide has happened, including in India, in 84 riots, when the Sikhs were disarmed, their swords were taken, their guns were taken, the mob came into their home, they killed them, raped them, burned them alive. This is the way we as individual citizens can protect ourselves against atrocities of the overreach of the government, at the same time from marauding mobs. And almost 2 months ago, or 2 years ago, when there were mobs in DC and in Tyson's Corner, looting and robbing shops, the reason why some of these mobs did not come into communities and homes, because they know we were armed. And you come to our home, we will shoot, we'll fight back and shoot back. That's the importance of the Second Amendment.
Okay, that's one view. Mr. Shah, you have a very different view, and therefore, unfortunately, in the United States, you're going to continue to find yourself racked by what is a polarizing debate in which a lot of young people are losing their lives at the moment. Mr. Shah, Mr. Ahluwalia, I appreciate your joining me. You want to make a final point? Yes, Mr. Shah, you wanted to say something.
Yes, I think basically we cannot keep blaming individuals. Individuals are everywhere in the world, and yet it is only in the United States that this type of thing is happening. So we have to recognize, understand our problem, and solve our problem. And the majority of the people, 89%, are in favor of taking some action. So at least some action has to be taken. We cannot just keep on pretending that, oh, this happened or that happened or this guy's fault or that guy's fault. The system
Mr. Shah,
is
the people of
and we have to
America
accept
believe in guns, and that's the reason both Democrats and Republicans have guns. Thank you, Rajdeep, for having us.
Thank you both very much for joining me here on the news today. Let me leave it there. Let's take a break at this point. On the other side, we'll bring you our good news today story. The unsung heroes of ASHA workers who've been lauded by the World Health Organization. How they really have been the foot soldiers in the war against COVID. We'll have more on them in a moment. You're watching the news today. News without the noise.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com or call 9999892171. Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com or call 9999892171. Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices.
Welcome back. Let's turn to tonight's Get Real India story. From hilly areas to remote villages to every corner of this country, India's ASHA workers have been in the forefront in the battle against COVID, testing, tracing, isolating and vaccinating people. Earlier this week, ASHA workers have won the World Health Organization's Director General's Global Health Leaders Award. They are the backbone of India's primary care, but unfortunately, they remain underpaid and undervalued. Tonight's Get Real India story on the plight of ASHA workers. Take a look.
If not for them, India couldn't have won the war on coronavirus. ASHA workers first helped in testing, tracing and isolating patients. Then they took the lifesaver anti-COVID vaccines to every nook and corner of this vast country. Now, they have won the WHO Director General's Global Health Leaders Award.
मैंने कोरोना काल में बहुत अच्छा काम किया है, सभी का वैक्सीनेशन करवा है, इसलिए WHO की टीम ने हम लोगों को सम्मानित किया है एवं प्रधानमंत्री जी ने हम लोगों का बहुत बहुत सम्मानित किया है, इसलिए मैं माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी का बहुत बहुत आभार व्यक्त करती हूँ.
While these unsung heroes appreciate the praise lavished on them, they feel neglected by the government and have hit the street many times. ASHA workers say their demand for an increase in honorarium and crucial benefits are yet to be met. There are more than 1 million ASHA workers in India. They are crucial to the success of any public health mission, yet they remain ignored. With Vijay Meena in Ratlam, Bureau Report, India Today.
Let's turn from there to a story which is coming in from Tamil Nadu. BJP's minority wing leader in Chennai was hacked to death by 3 people on Tuesday, the 24th of May. Now, 24 hours later, a 30-year-old Balachandar was murdered brutally by an unknown gang again in Chennai. What explains what's happening on the ground? Here's a report.
A spate of spine-chilling murders rock Tamil Nadu's capital city. Has Tamil Nadu turned into lawless Nadu? Following the double murder in Chennai on the 18th of May, another horrific murder has come to light, just hours before Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Chennai. A BJP minority wing leader was hacked to death by 3 assailants. 30-year-old Balachandar was brutally murdered by unknown gang in Chennai's Chintadripet. Balachandar was receiving death threats and he was later provided with a personal security officer.
The bigger question is that how come gangsters and such elements have become bold and how come such murders are occurring in broad daylight? In fact, on 18th of May, 2 murders occurred in Chennai. Both were captured on CCTV. Brutal murders, 2 men hacked to death with sharp weapons, sickles, and even now, the strange part is that the Tamil Nadu police is claiming that they are trying everything to make sure that the public is safe. But the question is, are the public safe?
The attack took place when Balachandar was on the street speaking to a few men when his security officer had gone to have tea. 3 men surrounded him and brutally hacked him to death. The gang fled the spot on 2-wheelers before the security officer returned.
எங்க கூட பேசுறதுக்கு ரொம்ப நன்றி. என்ன நடந்துச்சுன்னு கொஞ்சம் சொல்ல முடியுங்களா?
ஐயா, இது வந்து தொடர்ச்சியா நடந்துனே இருக்குது ஐயா. இது விடிவு காலமே இன்னொன்று முல்ல. ரெண்டாவது வந்து தொடர்ச்சியாக வந்து பிஜேபியில் சேர்க்கணும்னு சொல்லிட்டு ஆர்வம் காட்டி இது பண்ணானுங்க. அவனா சொல்ல ரவுடி பசங்க சேர்த்து கட்சி நாசமாக போடும், கட்சியில் எனக்கு கெட்ட பேர் ஆகிடும், அதெல்லாம் வந்து பிஜேபியில் சேர்க்க மாட்டாங்க சொன்னாங்க.
அதுக்கப்புறம் லாஸ்ட் வீக் 3 days பிஃபோர் வந்து என் தம்பியை வழியில பார்த்து உங்க தம்பியை விட மாட்டேன், உங்க தம்பி சாவியை கையில தான் அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு மிரட்டுறாங்க. மிரட்டின உடனே சண்டே நைட்டு நாங்கள் வந்து எஃப்ஐஆர் போடுறோம், அவங்க மேல இது மாதிரி மிரட்டுறாங்க, கொலை முயற்சி பண்றாங்கன்ட்டு எஃப்ஐஆர் போட்டேன். இன்னும் அவனுக்கு பிடிக்கவே இல்லை. ஆனா என் தம்பி தான் உயிர் விட்டான் செவ்வாய்க்கிழமை.
Opposition leader Edapadi K. Palanisamy has criticized the law and order in Chennai, calling it a city of murders.
I challenge DMK. If they were to give out the data, 1,000 deaths would have been so far after Stalin resumed power. It was 660 murders and deaths in 6th or 7th month of MK Stalin's rule. It's now 1 year, but I'm sure that it will be 1,000 plus.
See, most of these cases, vengeance. As the BJP functionary must have been involved in any crime. So the tit for tat action is taking place in every part. Now police are very active. That is why so much of murder cases are coming to know to the public.
In the case, we have investigation, hospital and weed protection team. 4 team தகவல் படி வெளியே போயிருக்காங்க. மொத்தமாக 7 டீம் இருக்கு. டிசி நம்ம முதல்ல இந்த பந்தோபஸ்தில் எல்லாம் போட்டிருந்தோம். அவர் வெளியே எடுத்துட்டு இந்த வேலைக்கு மட்டும் ஸ்பெஷலாக வச்சுருக்கோம். அங்கே கூட ஆள் தனியாக போட்டோம்.
18 murders in 20 days. 3 hackings in the last week. Chennai doesn't appear a safe city anymore. With Pramod Madhav in Chennai, Bureau Report, India Today.
Tonight, I want to leave you, though, with a video which really should show what civil society can do in the face of adversity. Golden State Warriors coach Steve Kerr, one of the great basketball coaches of the world, today spoke out strongly and emotionally on the Texas school shooting. It's a reaction that's gone viral on social media. It is also symbolic of the fact that when you see injustice, like the gun control laws in the United States, you speak out. Steve Kerr's speaking out is a message to many people out there in civil society that when you find injustice, you cannot stay safe. When we see injustice at times, good night, goodbye, namaskar, Jai Hind.
Since we left shoot around, 14 children were killed 400 miles from here. And a teacher. And in the last 10 days, we've had elderly black people killed in a supermarket in Buffalo. We've had Asian churchgoers killed in Southern California. And now we have children murdered at school. When are we going to do something? I'm tired. I'm so tired of getting up here and offering condolences to the devastated families that are out there. I'm so tired of I'm tired of the moments of silence. Enough. So I ask you, Mitch McConnell, I ask all of you senators who refuse to do anything about the violence and school shootings and supermarket shootings, I ask you, are you going to put your own desire for power ahead of the lives of our children and our elderly and our churchgoers? Because that's what it looks like.
History is at a turning point, from the war in Ukraine to the climate and food crisis. From the much-wanted metaverse to unstable cryptocurrencies, get a ringside view to the ideas and challenges that are shaping the post-pandemic world. Catch me all through this week on India Today and Business Today as I bring you all the latest from a World Economic Forum that's being held this time in summer in Davos.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com or call 9999892171. Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices.
You are watching India Today.